يا راغبا في كل علم نافع.
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن. هذه عقيدتنا الصحيحة فطرة تنفي الشكوك بواضح البرهان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Islamic Creed level 3, and inshallah ta'ala we'll talk briefly about something that has been present in the time that we live in, where it didn't used to be as spread as it is nowadays, which is basically atheism, where people would deny the existence of the creator of the heavens and the earth, and some of the types of it and how to protect oneself from this and so on. So this is really nothing but a disease in the heart. This is someone that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made them blind and inverted, innate. This is nothing but stubbornness. It's against how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. So when someone deny the existence of the creator of the heavens and the earth, it is not something to be even discussed. You're arguing with something that is completely opposite to the basics of one's being. You're talking about necessity, meaning the belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is by necessity. It does not require for a person to find evidence to it. And this is a very important point that we need to start this with. You would find in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, there's no evidences to describe that, the proof that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists. This is already known, this is already given in every single human being. And the messengers of Allah, they were sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to call the people to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. So either they were worshipping other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or they do not know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regards to His names and attributes and so on. So they would call them to the tawheed of Allah. And there are many verses in the Quran that talks about this. But to have something that people would say or denying the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's like basically as simple as it sounds. They should find, or if this is true what they're saying, give us an evidence that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exists, then give us an evidence that you exist. Person will say, I'm right in front of you, but you are what? You are a makhluk or khaliq? You're a creation or you are the creator? Can someone claim that they created themselves? Of course not. So you have been created, correct? So if you have been created, that means what? That means by necessity, without seeking evidences, that there's a creator. Because a created thing, that means it's been created. That means the creator is by necessity exist. So you bring an evidence that you exist. That's maybe something that we can discuss. But to talk about evidences about the existence of the creator subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is by necessity. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it very clear and profound in the Quran. One verse that nobody can stand in front of and try to oppose. أَمْ خُلِقُوا مِنْ غَيْرِ شَيْءٍ أَمْ هُمُ الْخَالِقُونَ. Are they created from nothing, or are they the creators? So choose one of the two answers and there's no third. Are they created from nothing? Nothing, al-adam, does not create. So that means you're not created from nothing. If you say that, that's the end of the argument. Because that means you have no sanity whatsoever. You're not intellect. So nothing does not create because it's nothing. Or are you the creator? The answer is that you're not the creator. And no one can deny this. So that means you're left with one answer only. And that is, there is a creator. And once this is there, everything becomes and falls in place. So this is how things are. It's like when you're trying to prove that half is less than one. Do you need to really work so hard to prove this? It's already known by necessity. Half is less than one. This is a very obvious thing. So anyway, So with that has been said, still it's the arrogance, it's the rebellious attitude that a person doesn't want to have any authority in one's life. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in the Quran, قُلْ مَنْ يَرْزُقُكُم مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ أَمَّا يَمْلِكُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَمَنْ يُخْرِجُ الْحَيَّ مِنَ الْمَيِّتِ وَيُخْرِجُ الْمَيِّتَ مِنَ الْحَيِّ وَمَنْ يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرَ فَسَيَقُولُونَ اللَّهُ فَقُلْ أَفَلَا تَتَّقُونَ. The disbelievers in the past, they used to have more reason and intellect even. That when you say to them, who provides for you from the heavens and the earth, and who owns hearing and seeing for you, and who brings the life from the dead and the dead from the life, and who's the one that runs the affairs of everything, they would say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then say to them, أَفَلَا تَتَّقُونَ. Shouldn't you then fear Allah and be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So therefore this atheism, or in Arabic they call it al-ilhad, which is a word that is used in the Quran, but al-ilhad linguistically is when someone deviate away from the right or bent away from the straight path. And that's why al-lahd, when someone is buried, either to be buried in a grave like this, a hole in the ground, or a lahd that goes into the earth because it's bent into the inside of the earth. And of course, in the deen, which is turning away from the path of the truth to falsehood. So this is, whether it's referred to philosophy or so, that referring to that nothing existed before, or denying the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is how they believe. And there are many reasons why this type of exceptional situations happen, which is again a sign of person is not even having a proper mind to think, and especially happen in the West specifically, for many reasons. One of which is, and truly this is one of the main objective, or the main reason for that, is when Christianity get distorted and people start giving divinity to Isa alayhi salam, the son of Mary, and the corruption of the church and the like of this, and giving the salvations to people, and as a result of that getting money from them, and in return you're among the people of Jannah once you give money to them or whatever. There is this corruption cause people to turn away and to turn off from religion whatsoever. So religion to them, they always picture, or their image in their hearts is the church in the dark ages, how it was corrupted and how was so much false beliefs and things like this. So this is, and fairy tales and things does not make sense whatsoever. So it's a natural thing is that people would turn away from religion because it's not really the true religion. So where else they can go? So they invented this is no religion, no one is to be worshipped, and so on. So this is what happened to them. But in the deen of Islam, we don't have these types of issues because the matter is very clear. And the deen of Islam fits perfectly the pure nature of the human beings. We are creation of Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of all things. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone. There's no intermediaries between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing is the like of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent messengers, revealed books. So worship Him alone subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, and that's, how when Christianity diverted away by doing things against human nature even, with secluding oneself and things like this, then it took them to the opposite extreme of that. And again, as we said, the transgression of the people of the church in the dark ages, and they would put taxes on them and all kinds of confession of people's sins and things like this. And then when in the Western world, when they discovered things and they benefited from the Muslim world when it comes to the discoveries in science and so on, then it becomes a war between the scientists versus the people of the church. So as a result of that, you would find denying matters of religion altogether. When the opposite of that was at the time of the Islamic Renaissance, when you find Muslims were strong in their religion, then there were the scientists also. Why? Because it's all together. It's the deen of Allah. And science and the evidence of materialistic matter is all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no contradiction. But with matters of the false religions, when they claim things and they would call the scientists that they renegated from the truth or heretics or whatever there is, made people either to follow science and scientific methods or to follow the fairy tales of religion according to their distorted religion. So then this is where atheism came into place. So this is just in brief of how things are. And they would always think of the deen like this. And this is something that you really face when you're giving da'wah to others, especially in the Western world. They think of religion as what Christianity gave them, this understanding of religion, that it's just fairy tales. Things does not make sense whatsoever. You have to put your intellect and reason home when we talk about the religion. So it's going to be contradicting to facts and scientific facts and so on. That's not the case in the religion of Islam. So that's why for them to open their hearts to listen to the message of the deen of Islam, they discovered that this is not the same as the way that they have been taught of what religion is. So we'll stop here inshallah ta'ala, and we'll continue with more, especially with some of the major beliefs and ideas that they have. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from all falsehood and evil actions. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
يا راغبا في كل علم نافع
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن. هذه عقيدتنا الصحيحة فطرة تنفي الشكوك بواضح البرهان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.